everybody. Welcome back. This is Can You Keep a Secret, part of the Pull Tab Sports Network. We do this podcast, I think, whenever it's a solstice.
Yeah, it seems that way. Once every at least 9 months.
Yeah, so a full-term pregnancy is the gaps between podcasts. But we got a special one today. We got a great guest, longtime NHL vet, two-time national champion, All-American, Olympian, and probably, I think, and vinyl lover, maybe a Fish fan. And I think one of the things he's most proud of is starting the Shine A Light Foundation, which we're going to get into with him today, which is Mr. Paul Martin. Welcome to the podcast, Paul.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome to have you,
Morning.
man.
Yeah.
Morning.
So you're getting a haircut today. Your hair looks good right now. Why a haircut, and what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, John, I see your flow is looking pretty good. I don't know. I think I go out every 6 weeks. I think that's what it is. And it's just that time of the...
It's a habit.
Yeah. And if it gets a little bit too long, I mean, I got a tiny head, so I need somewhat bigger, or like a little more hair or a beard or something. So
what size is your head?
I don't even know. It's the smallest fitted hat size, whatever that is.
Oh, I didn't know that. So you're
I
trying
shouldn't have said that on there.
You're like the opposite of David Backus.
Yeah, kind of. Just I need a little flow to keep it going. But at some point, it's like I guess as you get to a certain age, you have to be a little more respectable with it. I don't know.
No, man.
Okay,
No,
you should have seen mine 2 days ago.
Yeah,
I got my haircut first time in a year.
Really?
I looked homeless. I loved it.
Have you ever gone long enough to be able to do a ponytail?
I don't think I ever have, no, or like braided or anything like that, no.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, the double like Katniss Everdeen.
Yeah.
Matsko would love that on the bench.
For sure. I remember like in New Jersey, Lou, he always had you can have long hair or like, beard, which is kind of the antithesis of the hockey hair and the playoff beards and everything like that. But
yeah, he ran that like the Yankees, right? You had to get shaved, you had to cut your hair. Yeah, that's wild. So tell us, you're helping with the Gopher program now. How did that come about, and what has that meant to you?
Yeah, it's been a great experience for me. Pretty fortunate. I think they've done that for 5 or 6 years, and Ryan Patolny and Stu Bickle were doing it prior to me, and kind of the timing as far as retiring and not knowing what to do with my life when you've played hockey for most of it, and didn't finish school. I left after my junior year and talked to Bob, and he's like, yeah, we'd love you to come and help out and earn your degree, and we just would like you to be consistent with the days you show up, a couple days a week, 1 day a week, and it's ended up being every day I show up, because I get a lot of purpose and meaning from it, and hopefully the guys love it. And it's I think that's the stuff I miss the most about hockey, is just being around the guys and part of a team. It's not necessarily the hockey part of it.
And did you finish your degree yet, or are you in process?
I did. I finished it last spring, Bachelor of Science in Multidisciplinary Studies. So in order for me to come back and coach at the same capacity I did last year, had to continue with school. So now I'm in a graduate program in School of Social Work, Youth Developmental Leadership, which has been a little more than I thought it was going to be. But I mean, I'm learning a lot. That's the biggest thing. And I can still coach and spend time at the rink. So it's been a great experience.
What do you do with that then? What would you ultimately like to use that with?
It's a great question. I'm not entirely sure. I think it's just something that I will be able to use, whether it's consulting or maybe teaching something on that level. It aligns with Shine a Light. A lot of it is youth programming and development and things of that nature, which can really, I guess, do a lot of things.
And that was a promise to your mother to finish
Beverly, yeah, that was, when I left after my junior year, that was an extremely difficult experience, because I'm a Minnesota guy. I'd get homesick if I went on those USA tournaments. And, I didn't go to Ann Arbor because I played different sports, and we have a very close family. So after my junior year, we just won 2 championships, and I didn't want to leave, but Lou said, we have an opportunity for you to make the team, and the lockout would have been the next year. And so I could have been stuck in the A, and Ben Hankinson, like a lot of the guys were like, this is probably a good decision. And they were great about it, like giving me time. But, she was crying and having a hard time saying goodbye. And she's like, you better come back to school, and it's like, all right, and I will. And sure enough, I probably should have chipped away at it earlier, if I look back on all the time you have and afternoon naps and on the time on the road, I could be a great guitarist by now or something, or finish school. And I don't really have much to show for it.
Hey, well, Beverly, he did it. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, curious about something. So I'm a big Gopher fan, and now you're back around the program. You were there in the heyday, and everybody, the fan base is super weird. Like, there's a lot of people, I swear, they hate watch the Gophers. It's like I'll get texts from, these are buddies that are fans of the program, and they'll text me they only text me if they lose or if there's not enough fans in the building. And I sent a note to one of my buddies. I go, dude, you've hated the Gophers for 20 years. Like, you think you're a fan, but you're not. Like it's different. It's Big Ten. It's different. Just, get on board or get the hell out of here. Is it different? Like, when you're around the program, how different is it compared to back in the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of things that play into it. When you have some success, or you're used to this moment in time where Mariucci's sold out and you're winning, and you're in the WCHA, and you have the rivalries like St. Cloud and Duluth and North Dakota, and you're playing them every other weekend. And that's like that moment in time, that vision that you have. And then, like you said, when you switch to the Big Ten and you're playing different teams and there's not those rivalries, and I mean, now with social media, ticket price, I think there's a lot of things that go into it, which could, as like the regular fan in that moment, you're not getting the same experience. And like you said, it's hard. Like, the things are changing in general. So it's kind of like you got to get on board and go with it. And I feel bad for the kids more than anything, because this last weekend in Michigan, when it was pretty full, and it was a great hockey game, and they're like, after the game, they're so excited. Like, that's what it feels to play hockey, at the University of Minnesota. And to have that experience, whether it's Wisconsin or certain teams that come in, you do get that occasionally, but they come there for a reason, and it's hard to get back to that spot.
Well, I think people forget, 94 to 2000, there wasn't a pro hockey team here. So when everybody's sitting in Mariucci watching Crowley and Kraft and it's sold out, it's like that was the only ticket in town for like 8 years. Yeah. And it was, I went Saturday and kind of, the guy I was with thought there'd be more people here. I go, hey, there's a lot of people here. It's a 10,000 seat building. Most of them are 5. And when the Rouser went, man, that thing, you feel it in your chest, even with half the building. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's got to be wild for those kids to kind of just see a sellout would just be awesome. I know they did it last year for one game, but
right. And I think they do, like, as far as seats and selling seats, they do. I mean, they have more capacity than most college teams, but like, you're right. If you go into a barn with 5,000 and it looks a little more packed, and Mariucci has maybe 7 or 8, but it just doesn't look that way. So I know they're talking about doing something with the rink, whether shrinking it a little bit or adding some suites or something to make some changes.
Do you work with the D or the forwards?
I work with the D.
What a group.
Yeah.
What's it like what's it going to be like for this Faber, going to the Olympics, and with Nyes and Myers? I mean, that's kind of has he talked to you? I mean, that's just crazy.
It is. How cool is that too? Like, for them to have that opportunity, it's pretty special. And you're right. Like, it's been easy for me. Like, they're all really good kids, and they're a lot more skilled, I think, than like I was, like demonstrating drills and stuff. They got cones, and they're just really talented. But they've, to be able to go do that is already pretty special, but I don't know if they know the capacity of what it means. Like, till you actually go, then they'll know, like, oh wow, standing on the blue line representing your country as the flag's waving, that'll be pretty special. But they're excited, they deserve to be going, and that amateur, like what Miracle on Ice, like when you have a lot of amateurs that don't get that opportunity usually to go play, I think it'll be fun for them.
I actually like it.
Yeah.
I kind of like the way this is laid out. I know, some people would disagree, but I think it's kind of cool to get back to the way it was, college kids playing. And
I like that they went young. I saw this thing, our average age is 25. Miracle was 22. And a lot of these teams, like Canada's going older. They got all Eric Stahl and all these guys, and we really made a choice to go young. So it'll be kind of fun to watch them. They will be like the kids in the tournament, which is fun.
Yeah, I do like that. I mean, I feel like you have like some older guys maybe that you bring in to help with some of the leadership and the experience, but like, go young. They don't know any better. They're coming in. They're just going to play and have some fun and see what happens.
What's the time out of the program? I mean, what's their, from the time they leave to the time they come back, how many games are they going to miss, and what do you all do with that?
Yeah, three weeks, I think, 6 games. And, we've had some injuries and guys out already this year, a lot of adversity. Obviously, Jack LaFontaine left, and now we have Justin Close stepped up, and you were there, John, on Friday, and he played great, right? So, I mean, it just gives other guys an opportunity to step up and play, and some young guys that have been hurt are going to come into the lineup. So it's not going to be easy, but you got to find a way,
So let's get into, I want to go back. So you've started this Shine A Light Foundation, which is an amazing organization. I've been around a couple of your events throughout the years, but can you take us back to when mental health became something you were aware of, whether it was a personal thing, and then I guess turning the corner to making it a cause?
Yeah, good question. Originally, we founded Shine A Light in 2016. And prior to that, our family, my dad has a big family, has 15 brothers and sisters, and grew up in Albertville. And we had 2 cousins on my dad's side that had taken their life, one in high school and one in college. And then we had a close family friend. With my parents, there was 4 couples, and he used to run the bank in Elk River, and there was the recession in 2008 for a little bit, and ended up taking his life. And so you kind of see that and a couple high school students as well, that not no relation, but you kind of started to see some of that happen, and it was very foreign and not sure what to do. Why is it happening? And you see the impact it has on the community and the relationships with family and friends, and so I think it was something that was always in the back of my head, trying to decide what kind of foundation I'd like to start. And then you have role models like Sean Podine or Danny Hine was in Elk River, and Matt Cullen and Mark Parrish, guys that have had their foundations, whether it was for the troops or cancer. And so it was like trying to figure out, what would be a good cause that I'm passionate about. And then spending a lot of time in my travels, in the NHL, you get to meet people, and I did spend time with troops, and the PTSD and some of their stories with mental health and suicide, and so that kind of started to be the cause. And then for me, I times in my life when I'd be on the road, and you get lonely a lot of times by myself, and it would be something where this, especially towards the end of my career, where it just got to be a lot, and it would be hard for me to get out of bed in the morning, and I'm sure there was alcohol involved, and it just kind of wore me out, injuries, a lot of things. And I'd see a therapist and a psychologist, and they'd say you should probably take some antidepressants or take some medication. And as an athlete and a hockey player, like, you don't need that kind of stuff. And just being able to kind of have a willingness to try something different, or say I'm not great in a good headspace right now, or something's off. And it took me a long time to do that. Otherwise, just kind of keep playing through it. And so in 2016 we started Shine A Light, and centered around music, and mostly just education and awareness in youth and adolescents in Minnesota. And partnered with Washburn Center. It's kind of the big mental health facility for children, and recently we're doing some work with M Health Masonic to build out some music therapy rooms and mindfulness rooms for them. And something that I'm passionate about now that we kind of have a board. And John, obviously your brother Tom has been very helpful for us, and he's on the board as well. And so just a lot of people kind of coming to help, and now it's like this ball of clay, and what are we going to do with it, and how can we help and get involved. And after 2 successful events at First Ave, we had like Mason Jennings and the Gear Daddies and Shane Martin, my cousin, play and stuff, and raise some money, and had the kids kind of share their story, which is really like they're the rock stars, to be able to kind of share their experience and strength and hope and what they have going on with us. And so kind of where the money's going and why it's so meaningful. And then after I retired, I had to step back for a couple of years because of my health. I went out to California to work on me and do a lot of things. And then after I came back, I'm like, this is something that is needed more now than ever. And
so was it harder for you? So you stopped when you retired. Did it get darker for you after you stopped playing?
Yeah, that was, I think, the toughest spot for me. Like the end of the career, I think seeing it coming. injuries and drinking and pain medication. It just kind of was like, you see it coming and it's like trying to make the best out of the situation. But like, it's hard to get out of the bed in the morning and get to the rink where that's the only place, you used to enjoy it. And then you're having a tough time getting there. And
is this like one of those deals? Somebody comes and knocks on your door and they walk into your apartment and they just go, dude, what's going on? Like card table, you got the booze and you're just at your low, or was it more like sneaky? No one really knew.
I think it was more sneaky. I think a couple people close to me knew, and would say, hey, like, how you doing? And I was so used to being fine, okay. And I'd show up and I'd practice. And, I think if you're doing that, then you get through a practice, like, I'm fine, I can do it. But it wasn't until like after the first weekend or so, my last year in San Jose, I think I came to the rink Monday after a long weekend. We went to Napa and had wine. It was one of the days that the fire started out there for the weekend. And I was, drunk and on pain meds and just not in a good spot. I just had ankle surgery. Like prior in the summer, we had an event for Shine A Light and going through some relationship stuff. So it just like was the culmination of all these things. And finally, I just was like, I couldn't do it anymore. I came to the practice on Monday and went out and the guys were like, hey man, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not, like, this isn't good, and so they got me off the ice. I went and started to see somebody and get healthy and went to the AHL and played for a little bit that year. And at the end, they called me back up and got to play, and I played some of my best hockey and felt good. And then at the end of that year, they bought me out. And so I was getting to a good spot, and then it kind of went back down into a darker spot. And then so that next 6 months, I didn't do anything but drink and feel sorry for myself, and didn't really try to work out or do anything. And so it kind of got to a spot where after 6 months, it's like, all right, well, what are you going to do? Because the family, the parents are like, okay, this isn't good. And I knew, and it's kind of the point where you change your phone number and you don't want anyone to know where you are. And I'm like a dive bar person, so I would be going to places where nobody could find you and that kind of stuff. And I think in my head, I knew I was done, but I couldn't come to the grips that was, you're a hockey player. That's where you see your value and your identity. And like, I'm still dealing with some neck stuff and back stuff. And
did you switch your phone number for real?
I got a different phone. Yeah.
God, James, you should do that. You should switch your number.
Yeah. So when I'm 10 minutes late for the podcast, you can't call me. But that's hardcore, man. That's like that's Bradley Cooper, American Sniper. You're at the bar down the street. Nobody knows it. Your phone's a different number. So who pulled you out, or did you pull yourself out?
I think it was both. I think for, most of it, there has to be a little bit of a willingness to ask for help and take direction on some level, like from somebody. And it took me a while, but for the most part, I knew my parents, they loved me unconditionally and have been really supportive. And girlfriend at the time and close friends, like just trying to help, but they can't do anything. They can force you somewhere to go somewhere, but you have to do the work. And I'd went to a place a couple times, and finally I just said, you're right, I got to do something different. And my sponsor and a friend that I know, like the hockey docs or through the league, they do a great job. And finally you'd have that conversation where something clicks, and they were like, all right, let's just try something different. And we did. And I'm like, I'm just going to do it and see what happens. And
was there ever a part of when you were going through the recovery and talking to the different resources, did anything come from like a foundation of why that happened? You know what I mean? Is it, was it the fact that your career was ending? Was it pain medication, or was there something in your wiring that was looked at?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, you do a lot of deep diving. I think you go through like your history, and like I don't have a lot of trauma besides a lot of, head trauma, like concussions and broken bones and surgeries and, something like along those lines where your neuro, the science would say, like, if you do something for an extended period of time or you're stuck in these places, like it creates these patterns, inside your brain, and where you believe them or you get stuck in these spots, and I didn't have enough time away from it where I didn't think that this wasn't normal. And part of it's the lifestyle. I mean, when you come into the league, you're with guys that you're drinking and going out and playing hard and working hard. And, but I think deep down, better. So a lot of it was that, like trying to figure out, like, was it just because of the lifestyle? Like I don't remember having any kind of traumatic experience as a kid. I've always felt a little off, or like maybe I've used alcohol or drugs to fit in, or I'm an introvert. I don't, this is getting used to being able to talk without that kind of stuff or to fit in has been challenging. to kind of figure that out. Like I guess I'm a socially capable introvert, but like I'm pretty quiet. I usually keep to myself. And so it's been a new experience trying to kind of figure out when you're done, like what's next.
It's funny when you were telling the story of the family members and the banker, and as you were telling that story, all I could think of was darkness, right? And it's interesting that your foundation's called, Shine A Light. How did you come up with the name? What does that mean? I think the music component is fascinating. Can you just talk a little bit about specifically kind of what you guys do compared to other foundations?
Yeah, good questions. Shine a Light comes from a Rolling Stone song. And we used the T. The 7 was my number at the time, so we changed the T on light to a 7. And obviously, you mentioned Fish before. I'm a big Fish fan, and they'd cover Exile on Main Street or some other, that was one of the songs they'd cover. And so I kind of got into that tune, and it's kind of a dark tune, and that kind of became the song for Shine a Light. And that's kind of one of the things or pillars that we talk about at Shine a Light is like everybody has this spark inside of them, right? Or this light that, whether you know it or not, that brings, value to yourself. Like everybody has value and a purpose, and it's hard to kind of sometimes figure it out with everything going on. And it's kind of something that we've tried to figure out, how do we encourage kids to go seek that passion or to find that, whether it is through music or mindfulness or art or something creative. And so with music, that's something we did. We partnered with Health Masonic to give them a bunch of instruments for the kids and build out some rooms for them that are soundproof, and the lights and the microphones and all that kind of stuff. So, I think music for a lot of people has the power to heal, and studies, scientific, research has shown that and proven that. And so it's just kind of trying to find ways to get that out to kids.
And so say, how would someone interface with Shine a Light? Because I know that you also support other groups. So you raise money and give money to Washburn, et cetera. So someone has mental health, a kid, or I don't know if it's just kids or if it's adults, and then they reach out to support with Washburn or someone else, and then you funded an area that helps them that's music related. Is that kind of how you connect the dots, or how would you explain it?
Yeah, it's hard. Like that's kind of the exciting thing right now is after I retired, I stepped back from Shine a Light, and then we hired an executive consultant to come on and form this architect squad to figure out, our new mission, our new value statement, all these kind of things. And now we have this big ball of clay, like, all right, what do we want to do? How can we get involved, and how can we support and help those that are struggling with, mental health? And, we've always been partnered with Washburn Center, and now Health Masonic has kind of been new to try to get connected there. So we're still kind of looking like what that's going to look like. And, we have a good resource on our website as far as, if you are struggling, obviously numbers to call and where you can go. And so now it's like, we don't know, like, what is our programming going to be? Is it going to be something where we find a brick and mortar place in 3 to 5 years and have classes or facilities that we can house kids that, can maybe have like a little amphitheater where you can teach guitar lessons, or learn how to play, or you have guest speakers or room for yoga or meditation, stuff like that, cooking classes. And I think that would be really cool at some point. And just now with how many people kind of can you serve? And we've thought about maybe developing some programming to talk in schools about some things that we find important at Shine a Light, and if that's something we could do. And so it's just kind of been brainstorming and what we're capable of. But like you said, John, I think a lot of it is right now, what are we capable of, with the board? And events is kind of a big thing. We're good at throwing parties and events and bringing people together, surrounded by music and sharing stories. Which is kind of the biggest thing, getting people out there to just talk and share their story and just know how much of an impact that has. A lot of people see that vulnerability as a weakness, and obviously we know it's not. It's a big strength for kids to be able to, say they're struggling or having a tough time with something and have somebody, I have those feelings too, or it's not supposed to be easy. It's a human condition on some level, to normalize a little bit that there isn't a stigma attached to it. It's more about, the power and being able to share what you're feeling and what you're going through. And then at the same time, okay, what can we do? Like if you're depressed, like for me, it's like you're isolated. I'm disconnected. I'm lonely. I'm lethargic. It's like, all right, well, I can do these things to help me kind of, take it with me.
What do you do? I mean, so there's been some issues in our family, mental health, and everybody has that. But I was always kind of there's no 911, right? I guess it could be 911 in theory, but like I just found I didn't know what to do. I didn't know who to call. Maybe there's some hospital outfit that kind of specializes in it, and you would hear it from certain people. But what would you tell someone if they were really in a dark place? What are the first 2-3 moves that you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is if you are struggling, is there are people that love and support you and want to listen. It's just kind of getting that courage to be like, you know what, something's off, something's wrong. And there's obviously the numbers to call in case of an emergency, 911. And then they also have the mental health hotline or the suicide hotline. But I think the next biggest thing is just finding locally, like where you're connected or where they have places. And that's another of the tough things right now. The challenging things is just the support as far as the mental health care practitioners and the thin numbers of them, at schools. And there's, my sister's at Harding High School, and it's like one in for how many kids that they're able to have. It's like trying to find some more people to have that support. Now they do have apps where they have, for a quick fix that you can log in and call and have a therapist right at your fingertips, and which is always good to have somebody, listening to you and being able to share your story. But then I don't know how you stay in contact with that person if it's new every time. I think that's the biggest thing is it's to find somebody that's listening that you can relate to. And sometimes that takes a while. Over time too, it's being able to share the story with somebody that, maybe you're close to.
Like speak up is the first rule, is talk, get it out there. And was music always a big part of your life?
Yeah, always. I mean, I grew up with like Cat Stevens in the crib, and I always say I was conceived at a Led Zeppelin concert because it sounds cool.
Yeah, does sound cool.
Yeah.
What song?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to ask. Yeah, and so like my aunts and uncles, and so I'd always have records, and I'm trying to think of like the first concert was maybe at Midway. It was like Hootie and the Blowfish or something, and my good friend Nate Kopeka and we used to do the Sue McLean and the Zoo shows. So I've seen like Prince at Mill City, and like we start to get into that, and just kind of loved it, enjoyed it, grew on me, and so I was always at First Ave or checking out shows and. More of a classic rock guy, and it's and Fish, and we got to see Neil Young at this past couple years ago and stuff. So I just have always loved music and gravitated to it, and I know it's the live music experience, and we're surrounded by friends and all that kind of stuff.
Are you a lyrics guy?
I mean, I used to be more so when I could remember them.
But you're just more of the jam.
The social part of it too, like being in a big crowd, or what I mean?
Yeah, I like
just
to be there. Yeah, the experience part. Like, but I would always listen to music a lot. Like that was kind of my escape, on the road and going to games and being at home. There's always music playing, and so it's always been, in my ear, a big part of my life.
Vinyl?
Yep, have a pretty good vinyl collection.
Is that your primary, or are you Spotify? What's your car situation? Let's get into the music a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I go kind of all over the place. Like I do Spotify. I've been trying to do the podcast a little bit, but it's mostly music. I got vinyl at home where I'll throw on records, a couple times a day.
How much vinyl?
I'm not entirely sure. I probably have maybe 500, 600 right now, and then some up at the cabin.
So what have you listened to this week? What discs are you throwing on?
This week, I'm all over the place. This week I had Wilco. I've had a Neil Young, My Morning Jacket's new album I was listening to.
How is that?
It's pretty good. It's a little different. That's more, I think, like earthy and a little jammy. And but it was good. I like he's got a great voice, that Jim James. So
yeah, he's great. Do you do country?
Not as much. I mean, I like the Chris Stapleton.
You like the outlaw stuff, the new stuff.
Yeah, Eric Church a little bit. Sturgill.
You're not dissing him because of Elk River, right?
No, man, I love country. I thought he would.
Elk River's in the metro.
Yeah, it's changed. It used to be considered a north. Yeah.
So classic rock, no, not a lot of country except for the new kind of street cred Stapleton. Casey Musgraves, maybe the legit new country.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, I have, Waylon Jennings and Willie Nelson and some of the old school stuff. I like that, Merle Haggard. And, but there's and then it is kind of the new stuff, I guess, now that I've been listening to if I am listening to it.
What's your top 5 live, like your Mount Rushmore of live that you've seen live performance?
Live performance. Oh, man. That's good. Bruce Springsteen's in there.
Yep.
And surprisingly, Paul Simon was incredible.
Where'd you see him?
I saw him. He was here. I don't know if it was at Target Center or if it was at the X. And he was incredible. They had the drums and the...
Oh, yeah, the diamonds on the soles.
Yeah.
Or that Cole kind of, when he was doing the African stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you see Bruce? Which show?
Bruce, I saw him. He was out at, I don't know if it was, I'm trying to think, the Meadowlands maybe. It was when I was in New Jersey for 3.5 hours or 4 hours almost.
I saw him. I saw him at the Meadowlands.
I did too.
That dude kicks. I might have been. No, I wasn't.
It was his last time there.
He kicks.
When I saw it, he had a 3-day show, and I saw him there.
He is so he plays that song "Prove It All Night." It's like a UFC fight. You're done after 2 hours. You're like, this was great. Mm-hmm. And then he just goes for 2 more hours and he just kicks the shit out of you.
Yeah, it's incredible.
He is, I don't know what that guy's doing, but he's a performer. So Bruce, Paul Simon.
Yep.
I mean, Prince must be in there, yeah.
Prince, that was incredible. I mean, I was too young, I think, to really appreciate how good of a musician he was and what I was witnessing. But just to be there.
Where'd you see him? Mill City?
Mill City, roaming around. And then it was incredible. Got to go backstage and walk around and
really
get close to him. Yeah.
Did you touch him?
No, I didn't want to be that guy.
Never touch Prince.
Yeah.
Well, he's 4'1" or was.
And I don't even know if we even saw him. I'm sure he probably was gone, but there was, other people back there. But this was kind of cool experience.
Yeah. First Avenue, best rock club in America.
Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Never been there. Can you believe that?
That's terrible.
I've never walked through those doors.
Oh, that's awful.
I got to do it.
So great.
I got to go with you. You got to take me to a show.
Yeah, we got to pick the right show though, because there's you got to see the right band at First Avenue. Mm-hmm. They got to be coming up. Yeah. They're on the rocket. They're just getting big, and it's so good.
Right.
Okay, Prince. This is serious. Paul Simon, Prince, Bruce. Give me 2 more.
2 more. I mean, that's tough. To be honest, Rush was awesome. Mm-hmm. To get a little Canadian flavor in there. They were cool.
I own no Rush. If I was going to leave here and go to the record store upstairs, what album am I buying?
Oh, man, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm not enough of a Rush guy.
I've heard great things.
Yeah, they're incredible musicians. For 3 of them to put that together.
So a guy told me, Greta Van Fleet gets a lot of shit because they're derivative of Zeppelin. But a hardcore Zeppelin guy I know said actually Rush has a couple albums that are they could be Zeppelin albums. Yeah,
they have an incredible sound that they create with just those 3 people. Neil Peart drum set is out of this world. It's nuts. And Geddy Lee on the bass. So it's fun to listen to. And they get out there a little bit too. They'll jam out.
Are you a jam band guy? You're
like
hacky sack, and do you do that little dance?
I've never done that. I mean, I've probably done it a couple times. I mean, because Fish,
Devil Sticks.
Yeah, I'm not that much into it, and patchouli and all that kind of stuff. I don't get into that as much. But I've definitely Dead and Co. I've seen quite a bit just with John Mayer at.
How is he with that?
He's incredible. I was really impressed, and everyone gets so territorial with that kind of stuff. But he's great. I thought it was fun to watch. But then, Fish obviously is a jam band, and I've seen them a ton of times. And, Widespread Panic every once in a while. And Freeze McGee, just enjoy it.
How diverse are you? Would you listen to Adele?
Yeah, I don't mind listening to Adele or Stevie Nicks or Carole King or just some older cool stuff.
Did you see Neil Young's asking for all of his music to be taken off Spotify?
Is he?
Because they have Joe Rogan on Spotify.
And he's not, yeah.
I was like, wow. Yeah, he wants it all removed from Spotify because he thinks Joe Rogan's putting misinformation about the vaccine. It's like, wow, that's a
So then he's not a Packer fan either?
I don't think he's a Packer fan either. Probably not. Hey, this might be a little weird, but I'm so on the mental health front. So if you think in sports this year between Simone Biles, Antonio Brown, I'm just curious, as someone who's been in the industry, knows it personally, doing good, you look at some of these stories, I think Simone's obviously different than Antonio Brown. So Antonio obviously has had some head trauma in his life. If you look back, he's walking off the field this weekend. They get eliminated from the playoffs. He's tweeting.
That was amazing.
He tweets out a picture of him with his shirt off, holding a sign that says "Bucks eliminated." So there's this interesting debate, which is he unwell and he needs help, or is he an asshole wide receiver? Or both. I don't know. So when you see topical pop culture stuff around mental health, do you just think like, I won't touch that with a 10-foot pole because it's complicated? Or, what do you do with something like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it is probably, a little bit of both. I mean, how do you really measure that, from an outside point of view, with someone's really what they have going on? I mean, I think it's a good thing that, Michael Phelps and Simone Biles and is it Osaka, the tennis, like even there's a documentary on Marty Fish and Andy Roddick.
That was great, yeah.
And even the Tiger Woods doc, like you see how much sports has been a part of, their life. And even at the beginning, like if there's a level of fun that's taken out of it because you have to have a certain amount of discipline to make it to a certain level, I think, at some point. And the social aspect of, are you having healthy relationships with friends? Like, is it all tennis? Is it all golf all the time? And you kind of see what happens after an amount of time where it's like it becomes a lot, and in this environment, like for Simone Biles, she needs to be in a certain headspace to perform on an Olympic level and to know that she's out of it. And like that could be extremely dangerous, like to her, and for her to like be able to say like, I'm not in a good space is pretty impressive, and then to have people to not understand, like, this is something that they've been doing their whole lives and dedicate it to, and to tell them to suck it up or it's not that big a deal. Like, so it's good that you have these prominent people saying these kind of things. And then with Antonio Brown, like, I don't know, that would be tough. Cause on the some level too, you have like a general manager and you have a coach and you have whatever program that you have to run things a certain way, and you need people to be on the same page. And it's why you have success, because you don't have those kind of distractions, And
when you were coming up, you mentioned the Tiger Woods, that was an amazing documentary as well. Were you, skating outside, come home for dinner? What was or were you kind of getting pushed into hockey? What was your background when you kind of fell in love with hockey as a kid?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate. We had a pond right behind our house, the Gustafsons, and we shared it. And so, Grandpa gets you a pair of skates and you have the floodlights and you're out there all the time. And that's kind of where you learn, hone your skills and how much you love the game of hockey. And they had the pit in Elk River where we'd skate as well. So, I mean, I was pretty fortunate too that my parents let us play anything. And that was back when you'd play kick the can outside and all the neighbor kids would come along. And so it was growing up in that environment. I loved it. And so, but I'd play baseball and football and basketball. I think in 7th grade, I quit hockey and just played basketball, and so all my friends were basketball players and ended up going back to hockey. But like, I think a lot of it was just being in an environment where you could play other sports and see what you liked and enjoyed and feel safe doing it. And
how many sports did you letter in?
Track and baseball in the spring, and then football and hockey.
That's good. What were you in? Were you the quarterback?
I was a wide receiver.
Awesome.
Yep. And we threw a lot. So it was fun.
That's great. And then did you want to be a Gopher, or how did that go about ending up on that college program?
Yeah, I did. I mean, we'd go to Howdo and Jared's grandma and grandpa's and watch Gopher games because we didn't have it at our house. And so whether it's football or basketball or hockey, and, I had all the Gopher stuff and Goldie. And so when they called, it was like, yes, I had to play it off. Like it wasn't, it was yes.
Did Woog recruit you or Lucia?
I think Woog started, but then Don came in, and it would have been his second year where it was my freshman year.
Awesome. And did you know with those teams, I'm curious now that you're coaching and you're around the same program, did you know during the year that it was special, or you had this kind of, you were playing for each other, or everybody loved each other, or is it like you just got hot at the right time? How do you know?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think a little bit of both. I think the thing that separated that kind of just is the upperclassmen. So, when Jordan Leopold and Johnny Pohl came in, they said they didn't have the best relationship with the seniors. They didn't feel included or part of the team and loved and respected. And so I think they kind of changed the dynamic of that culture when we came in as freshmen, and Jordan Leopold and Johnny Pohl, Pat O'Leary, Eric Wendell, those guys, they kind of let us know how important we were to the team and that we were valuable. Did we still, carry bags and go through the meal line last and get an yeah, like it's kind of
part of the deal.
Yeah, part of the deal. And that's not, it's just normal. But when it came time to play the game or to compete in practice or to include everybody and go out to eat or have you over for dinner, that's what they did. And so I think that makes a big difference, to know that you have that connection as a freshman or sophomore and know that you're part of a team.
So just maybe kind of to branch these two topics together, but like from when you played at the U to now, do you see additional resources for the kids for mental health? And I mean, are programs putting that into their kind of resource bucket if a kid is struggling, or is it still kind of, because again, we've all been part of athletics for a long time, and you said something just a couple of seconds ago that, there still is a mentality of suck it up, get it figured out. And the people that stand out now are these people that are saying, no, I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm just curious from your perspective, is it changed or does it need to get better?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely changed. I know they do have resources, especially at the schools, psychologists and therapists that are available if the kids are willing to, and it's anonymous. And, they have different apps that they promote, as far as, meditation or therapy too as well. And so I think some of it is left up to the athlete to find out if they are struggling and kind of take a little bit of initiative to, find something different or try some new things, so I think that's definitely changed a little bit, but there's definitely still the, as a coach or, if you have someone say they're having a tough time or they're struggling, like I think there's a little bit of a fear still, like to be able to say that and not think your position would be in jeopardy, or like, they're going to find someone that's tough and shows up every day and, doesn't complain. Or I think that's always got to have some space in the back of their heads, but I think a lot of it too is we talked about like the normal part of it too. Like a lot of, I think of the guys have similar experiences or thoughts competing at a certain level, of expectations and pressure, whether it's family or, professional ranks and dealing with these emotions. So it's like, how do you do that? Like get them, the resources to kind of see like, this is some things that you could do to improve on, or some breath work or the little things that could make a difference, and get off your phone for a little bit during the day, or quit scrolling and stuff like that. So there's definitely resources available. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of the kids if they decide to take the initiative.
Yeah, because in the USHL, we before I left, we were putting some resources in through the NHL adversity, some things like that the kids could have an app that they could work through some different things. And from the feedback it was really well received, that these kids were, because there's so many. The interesting thing is like you playing for the U and playing, in the National Hockey League and stuff is, I think people look at it from the outside going, that's got to be awesome. Like your whole life must just be awesome. And the truth of the matter is there's so much pressure tied to that, from keeping your spot to not getting sent down to whatever. And I just think that from athletics, the athletic standpoint, I think it's really cool that there's more focus on mental health.
Right. And it's a good thing. Like, it's like you have these people who you invest scholarships in and money in, and even at the professional level, you pay them so much. Like, why wouldn't you bring in people, whether it's a mental health coach, and I know they've done it in Toronto and they're starting to do it now. They have hockey talks, all these different things, like why wouldn't you invest these tools and assets into having them improve their experience, trying new things to figure out what works, or having those kind of talks. I think for me, like even that whole part of the pressure and expectations, like when you put if you're not present in the situation, it's difficult. So it's like you put a lot of value in, like, I wanted to get 1,000 games. I wanted to win a Stanley Cup. I wanted to, so you feel if that doesn't happen, like I feel like I'm a failure. That's what I put my meaning in, instead of like being in the present moment, enjoying coming to the rink, helping the younger guys, like a lot of the other stuff that's more meaningful and has more value, like today. When you have guys call you and say, thanks for helping me out or doing that kind of stuff, then it would have been nice to win a cup or to get to this and stuff. So it's, I think, more of the perspective, and having guys have those conversations with people is very important.
When you think back on your hockey career, and if you had a couple snow globe moments of sort of, I know it wasn't the cup or 1,000 games or whatever, but is it national championship, Olympics, NHL moments? What are kind of what's your human highlight reel? What's on there?
Yeah, I mean, those are some of them. I think, like, my mind automatically, when I think about hockey and like my journey, goes back to like the pond in Minnesota, in Elk River, just where it all started. Then obviously the experience at the U, the back-to-back, the first one in the backyard at the X, with those guys who I, group chat with them today, like my friends for life. And, and then on the professional level, just being able to play for 3 really good organizations. And obviously, like I even say, we lost to, the Pittsburgh Penguins after 5 years, go to San Jose and lose to them in the Cup Finals. But it's an experience I'll never, forget, even though it was a really tough one. I learned a lot from it. And then the Olympics, which was a bittersweet experience for me. I got to play in the World Cup and then go to Torino as a member of taxi squad, didn't get to play, and then broke my forearm going to before Vancouver, where they won the silver medal, and missed out on that. And finally getting to stand on the blue line in Sochi as a member of the Olympic team and play. Dan Bausma let me do that. And then, 3 games in, break my hand and not get to play Team Canada. So it's like, it's this up and down, like one of those things where it's like, I'm grateful for such a great career and all the people. Like, I start to notice now, like after the fact, how much people invested, in you coaches and family members, parents and stuff to be able to do that. And now on the coaching aspect, it's been the most rewarding thing, I think, for me, since not being able to play, to work with guys and hopefully teach them a thing or two and be part of a team. And it's pretty special.
Well, I got to ask a question, because I always ask this when we're talking to NHL guys. Favorite city?
Favorite city? Oh, that's tough. There's so many. I mean, I love the Canadians. Like Montreal was incredible. I loved it. Like New York, you can't argue with, the New York City.
Have you got classic rock into the locker room this year? With the what's the situation musically with the current Gopher program? Are you have any influence? You got any weak guys that you can get to? Yeah,
I mean, I've been trying to get Tragically Hip in there a little bit. That'd be probably one of my other favorite bands or top shows. And it's different. It's changed a lot. I used to do the music in New Jersey and then tried a little bit in Pitt. And then slowly the kids take over, with more of the rap or the techno and that kind of stuff, or whatever you call it. The button pushers, I call them. And it's changed a lot. But now to the point where the remixes have like a Petty tune in it, or they'll have, a Bruce Springsteen tune in it, or Rolling Stones, and like a remix kind of thing. I'm like, all right, I'll give you that,
Who's on the aux cord for the Gophers?
I'm not sure. I think it's Blake McLaughlin maybe, or Sammy Walker. And so it's there's a point where it gets a little, it's like rock into, it's kind of country into rock, and then into like the rap and the hardcore stuff. So it's like a progression.
Is Matthew Nye's neck bigger than your head?
Probably, yes. He's a physical specimen. He's a beast.
I was watching him on Saturday. I just said, oh my God, it's like, is he a true freshman? Is he an 18-year-old kid?
Yeah.
Where's he from?
Apparently, I don't even know. His dad must be about 6'10", or I don't know. He's from Arizona.
Yep, from Arizona.
But he's just a man-child. He's going to the Olympics as well. He's a big boy. Mm-hmm. The 9 line.
Yeah.
You have anything else, Mr. Garrity?
No, I just think it's been awesome talking to you, and anything we can do to help you out, we'll help you out for sure.
Yeah. How do we get involved with Shine A Light? What would you tell people if they want to check out the website, if you got an event coming, anything you want to say Shine A Light wise?
Yeah. I mean, shinealight.org, and the T is a 7. We'll have some information coming out. We have some on there already about kind of where we've been and now where we're going. We'll have some events coming out in the spring. We're looking to do an event at First Ave in August. So there'll be some information out on there. if you just check that out. So
Awesome. Look forward to it. Hey, thanks for opening up with you and being, what did you call it? A capable introvert?
Socially capable introvert.
You did great, man.
Well,
thank you, man. It's a pleasure to get to know you, and you should be really proud of what you're doing.
Well, thank you. No, this has been great, and thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. This has been Can You Keep a Secret? We'll see you soon. Bye.